I'm Derek.
And I'm Jared. And this is a special edition of Two Peas and a Pod.
I'm great.
Yeah. Oh man. What I think we're a little different this late at night. Aren't we,
Yeah.
Derek?
Yeah.
Little...
Although dinner with my kids went pretty good. We had sausage, buttered noodles, and green beans, which last time I tried to feed my youngest loves green beans. He plows through green beans all day. But my middle, last time I gave her a green bean, she was sitting there like trying to just chew it up. She just went, it's like, it's not that bad. Green beans are not that bad. It was horrible.
I don't mind green beans. I didn't mind them as a kid. I wasn't a picky eater as a kid at all. I think there's like three things I don't like to eat. Cottage cheese, mangoes, and like warm, like canned spinach. Can't do those three. Can't do it. Just can't do it. Won't do it, actually. So, but yeah. So, well, we just talked a couple days ago. So, still doing pretty well, Derek. Still feeling good.
Yeah, I mean, life's good. I can't complain. Not that it helps anyway.
Oh. So, well, as you guys know, we talked about this a little bit on the last podcast. This is the special edition of Two Peas in a Pod. We're going to talk a lot about a pretty serious, meaningful topic tonight about mental health. Really a big topic over the last couple years, ever since COVID. Really a big thing, and I think it's only going to get more serious as we grow up in the technology involved world. You know, where the first thing you do is you see a phone screen before you see a human being. It seems anymore, right, Derek?
I mean, that's 100% true. More than 1 in 5 U.S. citizens currently live with a mental illness, which I think is a pretty staggering number. And then if you go and look at things that are the more aggressive or further progressed versions of mental illness, such as suicide, although when you do count the 1 in 5, other things would be traumatic brain injury, certain types of cancers,
childhood
schizophrenia,
traumas,
bipolar disorder, clinical depression. Those are also things that are maybe I think, at least this is my opinion, I'm going to be able to speak more on mental illness from like a mental health, let's even call it, just like
right.
People are feeling down in the dumps these days type avenue. So that's probably more so me. If we want to talk schizophrenia, you know, my wife will be home in about 7 hours. We can get her on the phone. She sats with some people that have schizophrenia before. She can tell you all about it.
Yeah.
So,
well, yeah. So I pulled up the clinical definition, right, of mental health. So the dictionary defines mental health as a person's condition with regard to their psychological and emotional well-being. So I think everything you said it really just is a big envelope into that. So got a couple of different things for you guys this evening, a little bit longer than the half hour. So stick with us. We hope to not ramble on, but I think it's a pretty good topic. We'll talk a little bit about it more. We'll look at a video. We have a special guest, one of my buddies. He'll be on in a little bit and kind of talk about some of his personal experiences and what he does to really overcome that and how he feels now versus maybe in the past. So hopefully get some help there. So, well, we're rolling with it. So, do you want to introduce a special guest? You got anything to
add? No, I'm ready. I'm ready to bring out this stranger who I've never met ever
in person.
True. He's a voice that tickles my ears.
What's up, Kelly?
What's going on? Thank you guys for letting me come pee in your pod.
Whoa. This isn't 2 peas and a urinal cake. This is
What I want to know is you didn't tell me that line before in this pre-meeting we had. Did you just want to just ruin that for us right there?
So I thought about it all day today, and I was just like, oh, I gotta say this, and then when I was talking to you, like when we were trying to figure this out, I'm like, I really don't want to ruin it, but
Nah, there's no ruining it.
right.
But here we go.
Plus,
Trust me, if anybody's
um,
gonna ruin it, I've gotten feedback from friends in the circle that I talk to that are like, "You really think people wanted to listen to you talk about how you took a poop in the first episode?" It's like episode 1, they're learning a lot about you.
Which, spoiler alert, is not released yet, so stay tuned for that. But
What do you
unreleased
mean?
recording.
No. In the first released one. Dude, the
Oh,
first
really? Really?
First 3, yeah, I think so.
Oh,
I mean, I don't know. Apparently, I talk about pooping a lot.
Nice. Well, it's something we all do, even women.
Daily.
So,
sometimes 3 times a day, you know what I mean?
yeah.
It
Sometimes
runs
once
in my
a week
genes.
for some people.
You know, and if you're having a rough day at work, you just have to poop every once in a while.
Yep.
There you go. So, all right, getting back on topic here, you crazy cats. So mental health. So talking about mental health tonight. So May, in what, 4-ish days, 4 days, is Mental Health Awareness Month, right? May. So, Kelly, thanks for joining us. Thanks for getting on and talking about some things with us and hopefully sharing some personal experiences. So,
Sure.
first thing I'd like to ask for you is what do you think about with mental health? Like, what does it mean to you, or kind of what do you take away from it?
Like mental health for me is just kind of like one of those things that I think everybody has to deal with. I really love the fact that it's really come to like the forefront, especially lately. It's just, I think people kind of just realize that they need to find different ways to make themselves happy, and it's okay to do what they need to do to be happy, and it's okay to say that they're not happy, and it's okay to like find those different things, and it's becoming more acceptable to say that I'm not okay. And it's just the biggest thing that I think I've taken away from mental health is it's so much more in the open now, where it's not such a stigma that it used to be, like where you have the old toxic masculinity, like, I'm fine. Like if you ask any guy, how you doing? I'm fine. Now guys are feeling more open to be like, you know what? I'm kind of having a shitty day, and they're more open to talk about it and figure out different ways to help themselves out.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think there's still a long ways to go. But probably both males and females, men and women. I personally don't really like to talk about myself to really a lot of people, except for close friends, and don't like to open up. Just kind of how I am, and some people are a lot better than that. Some people aren't. So yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
one thing I'll tell you too is that growing up, like I was a lot like that too, and then I don't know, like with my journey with mental health is, like I grew up in a small town. I had a lot of different views and a lot of people that had, I had these bigger aspirations to get out of this 1,000 people town. So like a lot of the stuff that I had going on, I kept to myself. And then when I did get out, and I, long story short, went through a divorce. And then that's when I really really started focusing on my mental health, because it bottomed out hard, because I turned to alcohol and just trying to find anything that would feel good right now. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
ever since that happened, like it's really started to turn. You know what I mean?
All right. Well, I appreciate you sharing that, Kelly. From one of the things that you had mentioned early on was kind of the conversation of just mental health being brought to the forefront, and I think that and Jared, actually, you kind of coincided with this and you kind of branched on this, but I want to just ad lib or talk a little bit deeper about that topic, and that is that I think that mental health plagues both men and women equally. I think all men and women statistically are all dealing with mental health. I think one of the things that men have dealt with that's a little bit different than women is more of that don't talk about it.
Right.
Men are not allowed to talk about it. Men are supposed to put this stuff down. Like women, and I know this because I'll go talk to my wife and she'll tell me all the stuff about what's going on with her girls in that network. And it's like, I would never even, and then I go out and hang out with somebody and she'd be like, oh, what about how's so-and-so doing with her girlfriend? And I was like, I don't know. She's like, you don't talk about that? No.
Right.
We
right.
talk about like,
Yeah,
and it's not even it's almost not a stigma either. It's just what men talk about, and there's what women talk about, and those are not universal. Everybody's the exact same across the board in every situation. I'm not putting people in boxes,
Right.
but I think that is why men have a significantly. I think men commit suicide at like a 4x or 5x or 6x. It's like an astronomical number higher than women. Some people say it's because men are aggressive. I agree with that to a certain degree. Like the most aggressive men are more aggressive than the next, than the most aggressive women, right? But simultaneously, I think it's also just like male culture and female culture,
right,
to a certain degree.
I think with men, it's one of those things where you're weak if you talk about it,
Yep.
or
That's the stigma.
Yep.
Yeah, the stigma. The stigma, right? I mean, I don't believe that, but
Correct.
if you cry, you're a loser. You're weak. You those kinds of
Right.
things. If you talk about it, oh, that's girl stuff. Stop talking about girl stuff, man. You're a man. Let's talk about hunting and fighting and sports. So I think that's a big contributor to that as well.
And and I was
Go
gonna
ahead.
say too that like when I was talking about that, I'm not trying to like dismiss like women's mental health or anything like
Oh,
that.
absolutely.
No. And I wasn't saying that you were either.
But
No.
it's just but the thing that I've really appreciated and I've really found as a cool thing is the fact that, like you said, like how men are looked at as weak if they're talk about how they're feeling. I think in the last, I don't know, probably 5-10 years, like the fact that mental health has gotten so much more talked about that it is helping men realize that by talking about their feelings, like it's not them being weak, it's them actually being stronger because they're trying to become a better version of themselves.
Right. Yeah. For them, their family, their girlfriend, their wife, their themselves. I think they discredit what it does for themselves and their own mental fortitude or mental health, I guess we could say. So yeah, absolutely.
I think there is a lot to be said about just the like so that whole idea of like men can't show emotion. I think for me, and I might have talked about this before, in my opinion, Jordan Peterson says this really well. What you want out of a man is you want a monster contained, because it's a lot harder, I should say, to become a monster when you need to be versus being a monster and containing it. And because at the end of the day, like your wife or your significant other, your partner, and this is my mentality on it, wants to know that you can protect them, but also want somebody that can be gentle with their children. Right? And that's, what do you want? So you want a killer, but you want a pillowcase? Like what are you asking? And I think that the paradigm is so broad there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
However, it's about just being like, there's times to be a warrior and there's times to be a lover, or there's times to be a father. There's times to be gentle, and you can't have a man that doesn't cry or doesn't show emotion or whatever. What you're going to get is more of the red pill style misogynist man that thinks women have short feet because they belong in a kitchen.
Right.
And I think that's bogus too. Like, again, that's the, like, I we've probably talked about this, Jared. I don't remember if I did, but that is a symptom of feminism, honestly, and that's a totally new topic on mental health. But it's like the red pill movement is also bad. That's where I'm going with this. Is pushing back to that more traditional, batten up your bootstraps and just get shit done and have sex with multiple partners and go, like, it's a whole lot of negative things, in my opinion, that aren't actually positive for men either.
Yeah.
Right. Talking more into mental health and for men and women, I think one thing that we really have to be better at, not just for ourselves, but our friends and just as a society, is understanding that, like you said, 1 in 5 people, Derek, one in five suffer or have mental health. And I think the biggest thing is mental health illness. Sorry. Is that a lot of times they don't know that they do, or they don't understand what it is.
I'm going to actually just bite back on that a little bit. I don't think it's that they don't know. I think it's that it's hard to recognize it in them. as an outside person. And I
Okay.
think what we
Yeah.
struggle with, and this is what, like, in the military, all of our training was about recognizing the signs of depression or mental health issues, whatever those might be, because it is really hard. And a matter of fact, maybe we each give a point on this, and then I got a video that we can take a look at. I think this would be a good time to do it because it's around
Yeah.
how do we see mental illness or mental health problems
Yeah.
before they occur. So anyway, what do you
Well,
think about that?
Well, I mean, to expand real quick, sorry, Kelly, is what I mean by not knowing is you can have a bad day or a bad week, and you're like, it's just a time. Like, I'll get out of it. I'll be good, right? And then they feel happy, or you feel happy for a couple weeks, and then all of a sudden you're like, God, I hate getting up in the day. I got to shake this, right? They don't understand that it's something that's causing it.
Yeah.
And how do I go, okay, this is a sign or a symptom. How can I protect myself and how can I change that? How can I wake up and want to get up in the day or want to go to work or all that kind of stuff? That's kind of what I mean by they don't realize that maybe the seriousness of how they feel sometimes until it gets to a more serious point.
And I think too,
So,
like, kind of like what you're talking about, Derek, is, the military trained you to like see the signs and that kind of stuff. But I think a lot of people have a hard time like looking in, like kind of doing that like outside in kind of thing. It's like, if I hung out with the two of you, like, I could be talking to Jared to be like, I think Derek's got something going on, man. He hasn't been himself. He's quiet. He's reserved and that kind of thing. And you almost forget to like look inward and see like, am I projecting like what I'm actually feeling to somebody else? You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. I 100% agree with that. As a matter of fact, so I am a person that has dealt with depression in my life. And what I have found is when I'm in the darkest, it is when I know the least about who I am and where I'm at in life, right?
Yep.
When I'm confused, when I'm not sure, maybe it's like, is this the job that I want to be in? Am I being the person I want to be? Am I spiritually sound? Am I work sound? Are my relationship sound? When I'm confused about who I am in that moment is when I'm the most depressed. And obviously that is an anecdotal kind of perspective on it.
Sure.
So I have been very keen, and I do feel like this has helped me. This is one of the things that has helped me is just being very aware of who I am. So like sometimes that's doing things like personality tests. Granted, those are 16 personalities. There's 7.7 billion people in the world. Obviously you can't stick them all in 16 boxes, right? But it's the idea that it gets you somewhat close to like one of my core strengths is positivity. I love to always look for the silver lining in things.
Sure.
And so like doing a Gallup Strengths Finders and looking at those top 5, but then also evaluating all 30 strengths out there and being like, okay, this was just a test with very boxed in answers to get certain outcomes. Like, when I read these, what feels like me? Like, if you guys have ever read the 5 languages of appreciation or the 5 love languages, it's another way of looking at it. Mine, the way I test is words of affirmation. But I am definitely not a words of affirmation. I'm a quality time person.
Sure.
You like quality time, but the test states that you respond most to words of affirmation.
Yeah, but I could like definitely when I read quality time and the bio on quality time, I was like, oh, that's what I love doing. I love going and hanging out with people. I don't like being in big crowds. I like to have one-on-one personal conversations with individuals. That really fills my bucket. If I go out to a party and sit there and wallflower with one person for 4.5 hours, like that night was awesome and my bucket is so full on that.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, so like that's not words of affirmation. That's a quality time attribute. And so just again, like I'm saying, just self-awareness, I think, is such a big deal. And I think it's something that a lot of people probably lack or don't. Maybe they just don't know where to look to become more self-aware.
Like, to Kelly's point, sometimes they, and I think I suffer from that. I am scared sometimes to look inward. I don't want to look at myself and like think about
demons.
Like, not so much that, but just to be like, okay, like who am I, what do I stand for, or like what makes me happiest, those kinds of things. I don't like doing that because I don't like talking about myself. I don't like being that person to look into myself. So I think you saying that is it's something that everyone should work on. If they're good at it, awesome. If not, really knowing who you are helps you be a better person.
And kind of expand on what both of you guys just said. Like the tests and that kind of stuff, like, yeah, those are super helpful. But I think another big thing is you have to have a good village around you, because the other thing too is I might be able to see something, those tests might tell me something, but like to your point, those tests are like worded. Like, so if I give you 5 different tests that are asking the same question worded differently, you're going to answer them how you're feeling at that time. If you're talking to someone and you're actually interacting with someone, they're going to be able to see, like, to your point, like, hey, Derek, you did a great job on this. Oh, hey, thanks. And then go back to your point about like that party, and they can see like how you're acting and that kind of stuff. They'll see that, like, hey, this is fills his bucket. You know what I mean?
No, I actually 100% agree with you, Kelly. One of the other things that I would say could be super beneficial for people, though, would be like journaling.
Yeah.
Getting your thoughts out of your mind.
Yeah.
When they're inside, like they're just bouncing around. They're just pinballing. And sometimes like you could have this negative thought that you're just like clutching it, right? And once you put it on paper, all of a sudden, now that you've released it from yourself, you can kind of be like, well, that's nonsense.
Yeah.
That's not true about me. Or whatever, like you detach yourself from things. Like I think there's a lot of things that people can do for themselves that, and this is where I go to, like, I have a library of like a lot of personal development books and stuff like that. And again, they are books. They come from a certain perspective. And I do not believe that all of them are true and good for everybody. But there is probably a book out there that will help you. I mean, there are millions of books out there. There is probably a book that will help somebody. And then on top of that, another thing that could be super beneficial. And I see a lot of these commercials these days for that BetterHelp. I think it's we are not sponsored, but it's like an online psychiatrist or psychologist or whatever, and you can just be like, oh, I didn't like that person. Let me go get with somebody else, and like let's rotate. Okay, oh, finally 10 people in, I found somebody that I click with, because that might be good for you. And where I'm going with that is like, don't be afraid to go ask for help, because human beings, like everyday people, are not as good at recognizing the signs. And to Jarob's point, when we do watch this video, I think we'll be able to talk about, like, again, recognizing signs after that.
Sure.
But it's like, go to a professional who can actually who has been trained in the arts of helping people recognize things within themselves.
Yeah. Absolutely. Now we should probably get to that video before Jarob freaks out.
No, I was just kidding. I was playing on words about inner self-reflection. No, I real quick before we do get the video, I just want to say I think we skipped over the part of what you talked about, Kelly, with having a good village around you. I have a personal experience.
Touch on that deeper.
I have a personal experience. So at my work, I took over a new area, a new store, whatever you want to call it, right? And a lot of things were going, a lot of things were in play. I was hanging out with some different people that I had met or whatnot. And about 3 months in, my boss pulls me aside and says, like, hey, something's going on. Like, I don't know what's going on, what's changed, but you're different, and I need you to wake up. And my boss is more to the point, and I respect that, because I'm not a beat around the bush kind of guy. Like, just tell me to me straight. And I'm like, and I had to sit back and I think, man, like, if she or he noticed that from me, like, who else noticed it? Or like, is it that apparent that something's different or something has changed? And it was really a moment that was like, wow, I need to figure something out, or I need to really look at that and change that. And I think you can't be scared. If you're a true friend of someone, or someone's truly your friend, if you pull them aside and you say, hey man, something's different, what's going on? I think that's more of a friend than the guy that's just going to play it off and not talk to you about it.
For sure. And those are the people that you almost end up respecting more in the long run.
Yeah. Right. Because they're not afraid to hurt your feelings, to kind of wake you up.
Yep.
So
is that a symptom of the digital aspect? The digital airspace? You know what I mean? Like the fact that relationships are digital these days relative to in person.
Do you think
Like that you go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, so like you're almost saying that because like as social media and this kind of stuff is starting to grow so much, we've almost lost that human interaction. Is that what you're kind of saying?
Yeah, because are you going to have that conversation? No, because but are you going to have that conversation? Like, for instance, Jared, how many times have you and I met each other in person?
Twice, once.
Kelly, we
twice?
ever met each other in person?
No, sir.
Exactly. So
Right.
like, but I would call you a good friend, Jared, and Kelly. Kelly, not as good. I mean, we've just met fewer times,
absolutely,
right?
Absolutely.
Like my cousin Tyler, I grew up with him, right? Grew up with him, and now I hang out with him more than anybody other than my wife and my family. Okay, but it's via a medium that is not in person. But I feel like we have a great relationship that's built on that. But the avenue of when I do hear that thing, like when's the next time I get to actually talk to this person in person where I can actually have that conversation that somebody doesn't have the ability to escape that uncomfortability that might be, right?
I don't think we've lost it per se. I think we've just forgotten how to do it, right? I mean, you're more comfortable behind a screen, you know, the younger generation, and even now with people like us, I can text you how I feel, or I can shoot you a message, and I don't get to see your reaction. I don't get to see the facial expressions. I don't get to see the anger or the love or the despair from my words, and it's safer. It keeps me safer, right?
For sure.
It keeps me safer knowing that you just read that and then you're going to respond, and I don't have to open that for 2 hours, or I don't have to read that voicemail or listen to that voicemail, for 2 hours, right? I think that's also part of it, is people don't know how to handle emotions when they come up because it's right there, and you don't have time to react, right? You react instantaneously when you're in person versus when I read a text, I can reply in a minute, 5 hours, the next day. I don't ever have to reply. Versus someone comes and looks you in the face and says something, how do you react to that?
That's a really good point.
I think we just don't know how.
Or,
I don't think we forgot. Like, we just don't know.
Or do you think it's just hard to kind of like, that was a great point, but like, is it hard to kind of distinguish? Because I mean, like you said, like when you're behind a keyboard, you feel safer. Like you're probably going to say something. You're going to feel more comfortable saying something than you wouldn't face to face, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I feel it opens up to misinterpretations though sometimes too. Like there is so much reading between the lines when a text message comes through.
Right.
Like you said, leave a voicemail. I'm kind of like, well, I'm almost thinking that is kind of still personal. Having a phone call, I just feel like even a phone call and a voicemail are something that are foreign to not maybe even this generation, but it's just kind of leaving our society. Like I do cold calling for a living. I think that's pretty dead.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to talk to cold callers on the phone. Like it used to be like, okay, maybe they got something to sell me. Now it's like, send me an email, bitch.
I don't answer my phone if I don't know your number. Like I just
dude.
I don't answer.
Exactly.
Leave me a voicemail if it's important. I'll call you back.
67% of the calls around there are voicemails. I leave voicemails.
Yeah.
So then also I'm that dude cluttering up your voicemail.
Delete. No.
Yeah.
So
that's what I do.
You call, if I miss a call from Derek, I'm not listening to his voicemail. I'm gonna call him back, like, hey, what'd you need?
Yeah, which is what we did.
Or how many times have you like ignored a phone call and text back, hey, I'm busy, what do you need, when you're actually just sitting on your couch?
Honestly, I haven't done that. I don't do that. If I'm not busy and I know somebody, I will answer the phone, but that's just me.
Yeah, I will not answer in scenarios where I have like my kids probably around me or something like that, to the point where I'm usually like bedtime related, or it's an absolute poop show and I'm trying to get dinner ready or something like that. I'll be like,
but to your point, Kelly, I think a lot of people, I think there are people that do. They're like, I don't really feel like talking. Oh, I'm busy. Sorry.
Yeah, for sure.
So good. I think now is a good time.
Now's a good time.
Now is a good time. Now I think you're right. Now I think
I
think we're good.
All right, hold on.
All right.
Oh wow, how are you doing? You good? Oh, sorry, thank you. How you doing? God, it's exciting, isn't it? how's the week been? Okay. Yeah. Yep. I hope things are better outside of football.
All right. Well, I haven't seen that video before. It sounds like you guys have. So I encourage everyone that's listening to go watch the video. It's pretty good. So, Derek, do you want to talk through kind of what happened?
Yeah, so there's two gentlemen. One is obviously just has a more stoic demeanor. He is they're at a football game, and it's football game after football game after football game. And in each scenario, you have a stoic guy, and then you have one guy that gets very excited about the game. He's very eccentric and animated. And he actually, even at one point, asked the more stoic character, "Hey, how's it going, man?" And the stoic character says, "I'm okay." Right? It's okay.
Yep.
But then at one point, the stoic character even gets up and cheers too. There was a big winning goal of some sort or something there, and he hangs a scarf around his neck, and he goes to give it back, and he says, "No, you keep it." And then it flashes. It says, "Sometimes it's easy to spot people that are coping," and then it flashes to the next scene where the stoic character, comes with just the scarf, and he sets it on the guy that was more eccentric seat, who committed suicide, fill in the gaps. And it says, "Other times it's not."
Yeah.
And I think, I would said it to Kelly here in like a short break. I said it's the Robin Williams effect. Like, Robin Williams is not a person that from the outside you would have ever expected to commit suicide.
Right.
But that's sometimes what coping actually looks like.
Well, and I think with Robin Williams, I think there was a quote. He stated that some of the only times he felt happy was when he was making other people laugh. That's pretty powerful. Like I said, that was a blind reaction to me, and I thought it was one of those things where it was like you should really check in on friends that aren't acting, because in the video, when you watch it, or if you watch it, the guy's not standing up when they score a goal. He's not upset really when they do bad. He's just kind of emotionless, or he's.
It's really setting it up for him.
Yeah,
it's really setting it up for him.
Yeah. And it's not. So yeah, that's a really powerful thing. There's a great quote. It's you never know what someone else is going through, and it's true. Whether they're happy or sad or mad or angry, you don't know how they're feeling on the inside. You can always put up a front, if you will.
Yeah. Of all the people that in my life that have committed suicide, so I have I actually know multiple people that have, and I think the sad reality is, I think everybody here can say that, and anybody listening can probably say that. That's the sad reality of it.
Yeah.
One example is military, and Kelly, I was sharing this with Jared. One in 7 males in the military, I believe it's white males, but just let's say 1 in 7 males in the military will commit suicide. We lose more soldiers to suicide than we do to combat these days. So this one guy, I'm just going to refer to him as C for the protection of his identity. Fun kid, right? The kind of like that. Rode a motorcycle to drills, had a good time. We'd go out, we'd party it up, yuck it up. Just kind of a more fun, shisty type individual. One morning we were like, "Where's C at?" Haven't seen him. I thought I saw his car out front. Go out, chugged a bottle of Tylenol. Was foaming from the mouth in his car. Thankfully, we got him to the hospital. And he's good now. I mean, I still see his snap, so I think he's still doing good. I don't know though. You know, sometimes again, that's that projecting, right? That we talk about. Like, very, 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 very out there in some of the more soft, safe spaces, like Jared described. Not necessarily maybe in the you know, whatever. And then I had another kid in college. He did succeed in self-termination there, and he was also just a huge partier. Just drank with the best of them, partied with the best of them, drugs with the best of them. And like when that one was probably one of the first like just real like, what? Him? Nah, no way. No, you're kidding me, right? Like it just didn't. It was so left field to me. And so I think sometimes, not always, that's not always. You know, I probably could be considered one of those guys, but I've also told you I have had bits with depression. So maybe I am, but I'm good. I'm good right now. I'll just tell you. So I just like to still let my free flag fly high. But nonetheless, it's like you do got to be conscious of people when they start to like kind of buy into that go harder, because they might be trying to offset the demons inside.
So when we first started this, I talked about like after like when I went through my divorce, like it was a complete shock to me. Like I thought that we weren't fighting, we weren't arguing or anything like that. She just up and said, "Hey, I don't want to be married anymore." And I'm like, And I think I told you this when we were out golfing, Jared, that like before I got married, I can tell you that I blacked out drinking twice. After that, it was 3-4 nights a week. You know, and it was just, and the way that I was raised and with religion, like I would never self-harm, but I told myself that if it happened when I was drinking and having a good time, that was okay. You know, so I think that you got to be careful about those people who are actively trying to do it and those people who are passively trying to do it as well.
I think you brought up a huge point when you said, like, mentally you're thinking, well, if it happens while I'm having a good time, it's okay. The mind is such a powerful thing, you know, and we talk about journaling it, right? Getting it out on paper. You can, in your mind, justify something you don't think you'd ever do if it was this or because of this scenario. It's just crazy that you can turn 360, if you will, you know, on that piece of it. And not even think about it, right? It's just your mind is so powerful, and that's what we have to protect, you know, with mental health and mental health awareness and stuff. You have to protect what your mind is saying to you because of those instances, right? It's crazy that your mind can do that, but it happens more often than you think, as we've talked about.
Yeah. You know, it's one of those things too. Like, it's weird. It's if you know somebody that's in that mindset, you know, they don't like hate themselves, but if they're almost trying to like thinking by doing this they're gonna help other people. You know, like they don't think it through. Like myself, like when I would say that, you know, if it happens, I'm okay with that. My reason for thinking that was because I know that if I just outright did the act, it would destroy my family. It would destroy my mom, destroy my dad, friends, and all that kind of stuff. But if it happened when I was out partying and having a good time, they would be able to accept that it was just an accident. You know, so like I was trying to protect them in that aspect.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we talked a lot about what mental health is. Maybe I guess signs, and we're no experts, right? We're just three guys from the Midwest. But what do you guys think is the maybe not the best way, but how do you think is a way that you guys have or that you've seen or had friends that can handle or cope or help with mental health to be mentally at peace with yourself or things around you, the unknowns, the stress of the job, the stress of life, the stress of kids, wife, all that kind of stuff. What are your guys' takeaways or I guess big things that help you guys day to day?
Well, one thing that helped me is I know that we've talked about this. I think at one day, like I wanted to tell myself something, so I put it in like a Snapchat and I sent it to everybody in my contacts. I called it a motivational Monday kind of thing, and I just said, if I was outside and I was looking at me in the face, this is what I would like to hear right now. That'll help me make me feel better. And it started to get some traction, and people were coming back to me and they were saying, that helped a lot, man. I really needed that.
Yeah.
So I've been sending one out for every Monday for the last 3 years. I put it on Snapchat. I put it on my Facebook. I literally am telling myself what I want to hear. And I'm not exaggerating when I say every Monday for the last 3 years when I've said that, I've gotten at least one person that reached back and said, I needed that today.
Yeah. Putting positive energy into the world.
Absolutely.
Right?
I think that's been my biggest takeaway from like mental health, and that is just realizing, there's a lot of people like when I talk about like my drinking and stuff like that, they're like, you share that. Aren't you embarrassed? No, I mean, I love who I am now. This is a step in the direction that I am in now. So it's like you end up getting to the same end of the same path no matter how you go. Like if you're walking a straight line, if you trip, if you fall, you're going to end up keep going in that same path. And so I'm not ashamed by talking about that kind of stuff because that's who I am. And a big thing too is that if I'm able to talk about my experiences and help somebody else who is afraid to talk to somebody or doesn't know how they're actually feeling, then that's a win.
To be able to relate and
Awesome.
maybe see the path. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Derek, anything that you?
Yeah, I'm gonna actually piggyback on that a little bit, Kelly, because I feel the same way. Like when I was, like I said, like when I was most depressed was when I was really confused, and what I realized, and one of the things I've always told myself, it's been a long time since I actually felt that way. It's probably been 6, 7, 8. Like I have bad days. Don't get me wrong. I have, everybody's got bad days, maybe even bad weeks or whatever. That can all happen. But what I've told myself or been able to tell myself is I am right where I'm supposed to be.
Yep.
To kind of go along with that. Like I believe so some, you mentioned even like for religious reasons, that would be one of my things. I grew up Catholic, kind of went away from Catholicism because I was just like, so God loves all these people and he's got all these gold artifacts and there's starving kids in Africa, you're telling me?
Yeah.
I was like, that's kind of wild, man.
Right.
But God loves his toys, I guess, That was my thought process because I went to a Catholic school. Like I was literally raised Catholic. My mom said she would only teach, like had the opportunity to teach at a Christian school, said, nope, it's got to be Catholic.
Yep.
Like that's how staunchly Catholic it was. And so then probably like my junior year of high school, I said, whatever. And then I went to probably being agnostic more than anything. Like I believed in something bigger, but I wouldn't even be afraid to say I was an atheist. Like I was just like, it was all to gain power, to gain wealth. And then I kind of came back around to that as just through my journey. I was like, yeah, no, there's got to be somebody. And so I'm going to go seek out some truth. So I looked into various religions and I landed back at Christianity and I pursued Catholicism again, just because that's what was familiar to me. That's where my networks were. And then now I would say I was more like, I don't even know.
It's
I go to a Baptist church, but it's not like
it's like
I'm
a
Baptist or
non-denominational thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe I am a Christian. I like to read my Bible. If you really want to feel really bad, go read Ecclesiastes, right? If you want to start feeling better though, after you read that everything under the sun is vanity, then go to the Gospels, man. Like, and that's what I think, because that's where the promise is, and because of that, then we have purpose, and we have purpose to build the kingdom, to live this life for the next life, because this life will all dissolve away. Like, if there is nothing higher powered, then literally we are all just part of the lucky sperm club. We are part of a lucky evolution scenario, and there is really, you will die. And here's one of the things that I thought about with this, and I'm be the end of my religious soapbox. It's just this, is that, think back, how many names can you name from history? Right? You got Alexander the Great. People talk about Rome,
quite
but
a few.
Caesar, right? They say what Caesar,
Right.
There, Caesar was the main guy. It wasn't. There was multiple Caesars.
It
right?
wasn't a person. It was a title.
Yep.
It was a title, exactly. So, like, then you go to Alexander the Great. You go to Genghis Khan. Like, Abraham Lincoln, George Washington. These are people of our great nation, and they are being thrown dirt on. Be the hero long enough to become the villain, right?
Yeah.
And so there you go, Batman quote. It's the idea. I mean, it's really true though. And so, like, just wait, go 100 years, go 200 years in the future. No matter how great a legacy you built, people will look back and they'll nitpick apart why that shouldn't be it, and you'll be erased from the history books. So there is really no meaning to do anything significant if you're a materialist, and if you really think that we are just part of an evolutionary process. Like, eventually you will just be non-existent too. You can say you were a net positive to society. I agree with that. That might make your feelers good, but at the end of the day, you're going to turn to dust in the earth, and it won't matter to anybody.
Yeah.
Nope.
There you go. Okay.
I guess I'll jump in. I don't have, quite as much or as big of things to talk about there, but
Hey,
how
Jared,
I
they're
deal
big
with
for
it,
you, bud. They're big for you.
How I deal with it is simplicity for me. I'm a very, I know you guys are gonna probably say I'm not, but I'm a very simple person. I'm a simple man. I think what makes you happiest and what makes your mental health the best is do what you love every day, every week, month, year. Don't try to do it to impress somebody. Don't try to do it because someone else is doing it. Don't do it because you think it's the right thing, right? Those kinds of things. I don't know. I do whatever I want because it makes me happy. Whether what everybody else thinks, if they say, "Oh, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't go there, you shouldn't think this way," that's their problem. That's not mine. And if it's the wrong thought process, it's not to me. I'm not a jerk and all highfalutin or anything like that. I just do what I think I like and what makes me happy. And that makes, at the end of the day, that makes me feel good, makes me feel good about what I do, who I hang out with, where I go, those kinds of things. So call it crazy, but that's really where I succeed in life and feel my best, is in what I'm doing, what I love. I think last weekend, for instance, Kelly, when we went golfing, and I golfed like 3 times in the weekend, I drove up to Sioux Falls, you came down, I spent the night, I traveled here, and it was a busy weekend. I loved every minute of it.
Yeah.
It was one of the best times I've had in weeks, months, whatever.
Yeah.
It was just because I did what I wanted to do, and it was fun.
Right.
And I didn't. People aren't like, "Oh, you're driving up again? Isn't that a lot of money, or is that a waste of gas, or what?" No, to me, it's not, because I get to have that time and that release from work or stress or whatever that looks like. So
And I would actually, if somebody was talking to me about, like, the waste of money and that kind of stuff doing this, my absolute best friend, he actually saved my life. Like, he was the one who, when we were in Minnesota, he's like, "We need a fresh start, buddy. We need to get out of here." He took me here. He ended up passing away because of melanoma, and I would give anything to have one more minute with him. So it's like, yeah, I mean, is that a lot of gas money? Yeah, but like you said, what did you gain out of it?
Yeah. And, you guys give me crap a lot about, I'm a single guy. I don't have kids. I have 2 dogs, right? I buy expensive things because I enjoy them.
I just
right?
shitting on you.
No, but it's the same thing, right? I don't take
Yeah.
offense when someone's like, "Oh, you bought a brand new truck. Did that cost you
Yeah.
X amount of dollars?" Yeah, it did. And you know what? I love driving it every day. People
Yeah.
talk about it. People comment how nice it is, and that makes me feel good, and that's worth it to me. And those kinds of things, right?
Yeah.
So I think those, and not to dog on you guys, because I love you guys as friends and all that stuff, but I don't take offense to it because it's what I want, and I think you have to be okay with you're not going to please everyone. You're never going to be everyone's friend. Not everyone's going to like you. And there's a powerful, I guess, book, and it's never take, and it's one of the phrases in it is never take anything personally.
Oh,
So
what's the book?
The book, it's the four. Oh goodness, I gotta look it up now.
48 Laws of Power?
No.
Hey, while you're looking up that book, Derek, since you're a big book guy, have you read the Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck?
No, I might have that one though.
No, I'm just kidding. It's the Four Agreements. The Four Agreements is the book.
Agreements, okay. I've heard of that one.
Yeah. So
And I've heard of both of those. I've heard of both of them. I don't think I have it, but sometimes what I'll do is I'll read a book and I'll give it away. But I don't think I've read either one of them.
So the four agreements are: be impeccable with your words, don't take anything personally, don't make assumptions, and always do your best. And I think the most powerful one for me is don't take anything personally. And I don't mean that as a negative thing, right? But sometimes people are going to say stuff just to hurt you.
sure.
Yeah.
You
got to be like water and oil, man. Just let it
Right.
slide right off.
Yeah. Just let it go. So,
Jereb is the human embodiment of the book "Thus Spoke Zarathustra" by Friedrich Nietzsche.
okay.
I will 100% agree.
Yeah. have you read?
No.
Kelly, please elaborate on that for me real quick.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
What? Could I?
Yeah, no, it's about a camel, a lion, and a dragon.
Okay.
And the camel. Well, okay, hold on. How does this exactly go? The camel. So that thou shalt, right? Thou shalt clean your room. Thou shalt, like your whole life, your whole upbringing is all these thou shalts. Thou shalt tie your shoes. Thou shalt do this. And you're a camel, but there's a dragon, and he's piling. All of his scales are all these thou shalts, and he's piling them on top of this camel, and eventually the camel will be overburdened with all these thou shalts, and it's society telling you all the things you should do, and unless that camel transforms into the lion, it shall never defeat the dragon.
No.
Yeah.
And that's kind of that's the idea of like never letting people kind of like tell you what to do. Like you need Jordan Peterson says, imagine what you'd be like if you spoke your being forward every single day. Very few people know what it is to be the person that every single day they wake up and say, this is what I'm going to do. And their entire day, not necessarily planned out, but every moment they go, no, this is what I'm going to do. No, this is what I'm going to do. No, this is what I'm going to do. And they use that to empower them to the highest purposes of their being, per se.
So
now I'm not saying that that's necessarily biblical for all my religious friends out there, but I'm just saying, like, that's how Hitler came to power. So let's not like get too carried away.
So,
although Jereb's okay with that, right, Arian?
I never said I was okay with what happened.
Oh,
wait,
okay.
I feel like you should expand on that. So here,
you'll have to read or listen to a previous podcast to understand that joke. So if you haven't, start listening.
So you guys have been talking about quotes and stuff like that, and you're talking about, to kind of piggyback on like the not care what anybody else says. My son is 11 years old. A couple of years ago, I was talking to him, and I was just like, hey, buddy, what do you want to be when you grow up? And he just flat out looked at me and goes, me, Dad.
Ooh,
wow.
Dropping bars at 11.
It's like, I just looked at him, and I was like, I don't know what to say. Do that, bud.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a really good thing that he can say at 11 years old.
Yeah.
right? I don't
I feel like it's
think I'd
good
ever
parenting,
thought about
but I'm
that.
not going to say that.
Oh,
Yeah. If you could,
uh,
if you could be anybody in the world, be yourself. Unless you could be Batman.
Yes.
Then be Batman.
Yes. 100%. 100%.
yeah. So, well, but yeah, I think we've covered mental health, and I think we could talk for the next 10 hours on this.
I think so too. Yeah.
But I think we've covered a lot on things that we've had as personal experiences. I think we've covered on things that we do in our own lives to help combat it and to understand it ourselves. I think for the listeners and for people out there looking for advice, if you are, we're not trying to give it to you. Just talk about it. I think the biggest thing is just talk about it. And there's no right or wrong answer.
No.
Have a good village.
Have a
Yeah.
good
That was a
village.
good quote. Yep.
Yeah, have a good village. I think people bringing you up instead of trying to tear you down is probably one of the biggest things. Yeah, I think you said it best, Kelly. But yeah, you guys have anything to add to that?
So one other thing that, like, I mean, I can tell you this, and I can guarantee you, like Derek, that you can attest to this too, is raising a kid nowadays is so tough. Like Riker was telling me, he was having an issue with his friend and he didn't know if he wanted to be his friend anymore. So I told him, I said, it's okay to not like somebody. It's okay to not be their friend. The biggest question you have to ask, you don't have to be friends with the decisions that they make. You're friends with the person that they are. What value do they bring to you? What value do they bring to your life? And the other thing too, like you were saying, like just talk about it, just talk about it. I think so many people are so afraid to talk about how they're feeling because they feel that they're the only person feeling that way.
Yeah.
I can absolutely guarantee you the way that you're feeling today, if you come in contact with 10 people today, 8 of them are probably feeling relatively the same way. Talk about it. Express it.
There's 3 of us on this podcast right now, and all 3 of us at some point have, are, or were dealing with some sort of mental health situation.
For sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. 3 for 3. Right. And that's just 3 random guys from random towns in the Midwest at some point in time,
Must be in the corn.
it was probably made in Iowa, grown and cut in Iowa. So, Derek, do you got anything for us?
No, I think it was good. Thank you, Kelly, for being on here.
Yeah,
we appreciate
Thank you guys for
insight and welcome. You're a very special guest because you were our first special guest. So
everybody has a lot to live up to now.
Put that on the tombstone.
So
someday.
Okay,
someday.
There we go.
Not you peed in our pod. I mean, what do you expect from me?
I've already texted my guy, Kelly, so it's fine. Well, guys, thank you for listening to our first ever special edition of 2 Peas in a Pod. Biggest thing to take away is go tell someone you love them, give them a hug, go talk to them. But until next time,
I'm Derek,
and I'm Jared, and this is 2 Peas and a Pod
with Kelly.